For decades, India adhered to a strict no-first-use nuclear doctrine. The government assured the world it kept no weapons on a hair-trigger alert. To prove this, they relied on physical distance. Warheads were stored hundreds of miles away from their missiles. If conflict broke out, engineers faced long transport routes and complex assembly just to get a single weapon ready for launch. That massive time delay was entirely deliberate. It served as a geopolitical safety net, guaranteeing that India could not launch a nuclear strike on a sudden impulse. That predictable, relaxed posture ended recently with the release of a stark report from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. The data reveals a sharp pivot. For years, India maintained exactly 0 deployed nuclear warheads. Today, that number has jumped to 12. This pivot arrives during a period of rising global nuclear anxiety. With analysts predicting Iran could reach the nuclear threshold within 3 years and tensions flaring among superpowers, nations are heavily rethinking their deterrence, which leaves us with a critical question. In a world terrified of nuclear escalation, why is India breaking decades of its peaceful traditions to put 12 apocalypse weapons on high alert? To understand the gravity of this shift, we have to look at the difference between a stored weapon and a deployed one. A deployed warhead is physically mated to its delivery system, mounted inside a submarine, a bomber, or a missile, and ready for flight. This eliminates the old transport and assembly delays. Once the Prime Minister and military commanders authorize a strike, the launch sequence executes in a fraction of the time. Keeping weapons in this constant state of readiness is also extremely expensive. Maintaining a single warhead on a hair-trigger alert costs millions of dollars more than leaving it secured in a passive storage bunker. By spending a fortune to keep 12 weapons ready for immediate push-button launch, India is demonstrating that this is not a drill. They are actively preparing for the possibility of sudden war. Of course, on a global scale, superpowers still dominate the landscape. Russia and the United States maintain arsenals of over 5,000 warheads each. In South Asia, India recently hit a milestone, its 190 warheads edging past Pakistan's 170. Yet, countering Pakistan isn't the driving force behind this deployment strategy. The actual target is China, whose massive arsenal of 620 warheads heavily dwarfs India's total stockpile. And China has been actively escalating its own readiness. Recently, Beijing increased its number of deployed warheads from 24 up to 36. By pairing 12 newly deployed warheads with modern, long-range delivery systems, India is sending a direct, territorial warning. It is a calculated signal that Indian retaliation can now reach deep into mainland China. Yet, even with these 12 weapons on high alert, India remains at a disadvantage against China's rapid military modernization. While the inventory gap is stark, the technical characteristics of the systems carrying those warheads create the most immediate pressure. Success in a modern conflict depends on how fast and reliably a payload can reach its target. China has already operationalized hypersonic missiles, weapons that travel at 5 times the speed of sound and perform evasive maneuvers that make them nearly impossible to intercept. India currently has no equivalent. Having 12 weapons primed and ready offers little protection if an adversary's hypersonic strike obliterates your silos before your own missiles ever leave the ground. This technological gap is forcing India into an urgent, massive catch-up strategy. The government is rapidly constructing new missile silos, expanding its nuclear submarine fleet, and pouring resources into its own hypersonic development. It is the grim logic of mutually assured destruction, now dictating the Sino-Indian border. Both nations are locking into a cycle where they must keep their weapons constantly deployed to ensure the other side is too terrified to strike first. Under this framework, showing hesitation, weakness, or delay invites immediate exploitation by an adversary. India's decision to move warheads out of storage has dismantled the region's long-standing reliance on strategic patience. It serves as a dark promise that peace in the 21st century will now be brokered by the credible threat of instant, overwhelming devastation.